It's a very conscious thing for me to show, to support, to amplify tenderness, especially when it comes to the way we view Black and brown men, because the world is set up in a different way, believing that we're not tender.
To sleep. To sleep. Perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub.
Hi, I'm Colman Domingo.
And I'm Greg Kwedar, the director of Sing Sing, and this is Notes on a Scene.
It sure is.
The program at the center of this movie is Rehabilitation Through the Arts, a program in New York that has been putting on theater productions, started at Sing Sing in 1996, and they've been putting on theater productions inside these maximum security facilities.
This scene, what did you call the scene?
Taking the stage.
Taking the stage. And this is when Clarence Divine Eye Macklin, playing a version of himself, is actually taking the stage and going through rehearsal. And he's learning sort of like how to do it and being coached by Brent Buell, played by Paul Racy. And he's having some troubles, you know, as a newbie actor, right?
Okay, you want to take that again?
Why, did I do something wrong?
No, we're just working at it, but I'll tell you what, let's try something here.
Paul here, as Brent Buell, is trying to encourage Divine Eye to take the stage, like to really take ownership of stepping on. And he's saying something really meaningful, but I don't think he knows how to say the deeper thing that only Colman can as Divine G. And this is also a point in a movie that we've probably seen this scene before in a lot of movies where the teacher like encourages the student.
Yeah, we don't want to suffer those tropes of like, white savior. And that's not what's happening here. It's like he's just the person who comes on and helps ignite and encourage as well.
I want to see you come on the stage with Hamlet's, you're in Hamlet's world, and you're bringing that all the way to your mark, and then you say your line. Let's try it.
A big part of like how we decided to frame a lot of this movie is about the power of what happens when you draw close, when you bring the camera and actually look someone in the eyes and hear their stories and like the kind of many stories that a face can tell. And a lot of our movie lives in a lot of these close-ups.
To be...
Hold up, did you do it? Because we all fell asleep.
I've known Clarence Divine Eye Macklin for 8 years. He was one of the first people Clint and I met when we started to learn about the program. And he's one of those people that you feel almost before they walk in the room. He has this immense presence, and part of that is like charisma, and he also has a light, that emanates from him, but he's a very deep human as well. He's very intelligent, he's constantly curious.
Like, he's out of his comfort zone in many ways doing his first film. But he was learning every single time and watching and figuring it out. Mm-hmm. And by the time he got here, his subtlety just shone so much to know that he didn't have to play to the balcony because he was used to the theater. So he was able to distill and learn all the relationships of camera. I think he's always had that as a performer. He's a sponge.
I saw you walk out here like a man who's asking this audience for permission to be here.
This is the theater rehearsal space, and I wish you could just see like above this, there are these vaulted sort of wood ceilings, and when you walk into this room, it takes your breath away. And contrasted with the actual prison environment that's surrounded by like miles of razor wire, this space here was safe, and it was a place that you could really express yourself.
Who's this guy?
That is James Biggie Williams. That's Mosey Eagle. Why don't you say who that is?
Who's that? This is my best friend, Sean San Jose, who's a phenomenal actor. We've known each other for 30 years, and I knew he needed to go on this journey with us. Who's this gorgeous, stunning gentleman? King Colman.
King Colman Domingo.
A bow tie as well. And who's that?
This is Sean Dino Johnson.
Gosh, that guy has so much heart.
Take the stage and say, hey, it's time to start paying attention to me. You have to show...
Brent.
Yes, G.
Do you mind if I...
Please.
The process of doing this work is transformative on almost every level. And the proof is really in the pudding, like the recidivism rate of people going back to prison within 5 years of their release is over 60%. And graduates of this program, 3 here in front of us, less than 3% ever go back inside.
3% recidivism rate, which is astounding compared to the 60%. That's the norm. So this program is a program that works. The world expects brothers like you and I, all these brothers, to walk in with our heads held down, apologizing for being there.
Nah, what you gotta walk in is like a motherfucking king. Like you own all this shit. Everything is yours.
In November of 2021, I was sitting with a notebook and finally had this clarity to center the story of putting on this play between a friendship between the real Divine G and Divine I. And this treatment just kind of fell out in about 10 minutes. And at the very end of it, I just wrote Colman Domingo as Divine G.
What did you see? Am I working Zola? And you thought that? And I'm telling you.
I own this fucking theater.
This is my fucking theater.
I own this bitch.
I own all this shit.
That's it. Yeah. Now give him some love. Give him some love. All right. That's it. All right. Now, what's your emotional state? What's underneath?
My character had to meet Divine I's character where he lives. Like he lives in this other very sort of raw place. And so I had to make it more accessible and make him understand, oh, this is still your experience. You can take what your life experience is and apply it to Shakespeare. At the center for me, I think that this film ultimately is about brotherhood because they're looking after each other in every single way and making sure that they're helping each other find access to whether it's their emotions, to feelings, to advocating for their own liberation. They're in this place doing the work. And because the system's not set up for that to happen, but they're taking ownership and really just like, finding the light in their lives. So I thought, what a beautiful message. And I want to be a part of messages like that and these complex representations of Black and brown men.
Mad as a motherfucker.
Okay, no. Okay. Anger is the easiest thing to play. Am I right, Brent?
Too easy.
What's more complicated is to play hurt.
I think this is a tool for life.
Yeah.
Actually, what's being said right here. The fact that saying anger is easy, but to play hurt is more complicated. Again, I think the thing that I learned and we all learned from even studying with RTA and the purpose of how theater plays in this is you're giving people life tools as well. You're saying, oh, okay, wait, I'm not angry. I feel more complicated emotions than that. People who are learning this stuff in these theater games, rehearsals, it's very unconscious that they're actually applying this to their own lives and making them think differently about their own feelings. That's why I think a program like RTA is so important and how it works and how theater works, period.
That helps you name the thing, all right? Now try that.
We also shot this movie beautifully lensed by Pat Scola on Super 16 film. There's a very conscious choice for that because this is a movie about all the richness that kind of comes from the earth, from being grounded in the earth, and to shoot on an actual physical medium like film, I think really helped us sing. We shot our movie in sort of two halves. The first half were in more kind of formal incarcerated spaces, like the yard, the cell block. We were shooting in a decommissioned prison that closed a month before we went in there. We were only in there for 10 hours a day. It wasn't active anymore, but you still feel the oppression of it, the heat, the lack of ventilation, the ghosts in the walls, how it's just a constant maze, like to go down one stairwell to only go up another, and then you have no idea where you are. When we finally kind of left that in our rear view and came into the theater, we were just flying.
Yeah.
From the top.
There you go, Brent.
There's little moments like this to see one hand going out and seeing this big strapping man grab his hand as well, applauding what's happening with this brother, that, okay, good, he got the lesson. So I feel like those small moments and gestures of camaraderie, I think, are very important.
Yeah, man, a big key word that you helped us find was tender. I mean, that's a simple gesture of that, but that's the fingerprints of that are all over this film.
It's a very conscious thing for me to show, to support, to amplify tenderness, especially when it comes to the way we view Black and brown men, because the world is set up in a different way, believing that we're not tender. To deconstruct and smash tropes of hypermasculinity and to show that, hey, these brothers, because it's what I witness, I have friends, we call each other, hey, beautiful king, how you doing? Because we need to hear that, because the world is telling us we're something else. So I think in a space like this, where these men has sought tenderness out with each other, because it is tender to do theater, to express yourself, to be vulnerable with each other, especially in a place that is set up to be dangerous, actually.
Like the yard, but bigger.
I'm Divine fucking I.
Yeah.
I hope people recognize the human potential behind these walls.
There's a line that Paul Raci says, where he says, who would have thought that the healing of the world will begin right here, behind these walls of Sing Sing? is one of the most potent lines to me, because it says a lot. It says that, could you even imagine that the healing we're doing here with all obstacles against us, this radical love that's happening for self, for healing, for rehabilitation is happening here. Just imagine what we take out into the world. If we can do it, the rest of the world surely can.